And while we're on the subject of COVID, let's catch the latest coronavirus scare story from News Corp's Sherry Markson.
Virus warfare in China files. Exclusive.
In that front-page scoop in the Weekend Australian 10 days ago, Markson revealed the contents of a document, quote, obtained by the US State Department as it conducted an investigation into the origins of COVID-19. And its message was chilling. As Markson told her Sky audience on Sunday,
it describes SARS coronaviruses as heralding, and I quote, a new era of genetic weapons. It says they can be artificially manipulated into an emerging human disease virus, weaponised and unleashed in a way never seen before.
Yes, it was scary stuff, as was Markson's notorious Wuhan lab story in the telly last year. And the UK media who followed it up, like The Sun and Daily Mail, were suitably alarmed.
China probed weaponising coronaviruses 5 years before COVID outbreak and predicted World War III fought with bioweapons. Bombshell documents reveal.
China was preparing for a third world war with biological weapons, including coronavirus, 6 years ago.
And back home, news.com.au had an even more frightening take on Markson's revelations.
Leaked Chinese document reveals a sinister plan to unleash coronaviruses.
While a column from the Telegraph's Tim Blair went still further, telling readers,
forget the prospect of war with China. We may already be at war, but simply failed to recognise the weaponry.
And by now, this talk of war with China wasn't just ringing round the News Corp echo chamber. National Senator Matt Canavan was slipping it into a budget comment on 9.
Without being too dramatic, we could be on the eve of World War III. There's all this conflict in our region, the tension.
And Canavan was also loudly praising Markson's work on Twitter, or his interpretation of it.
Shari Markson at the Oz has done an amazing job uncovering documents that show Chinese plans for biological warfare.
So, how hard was it to uncover or obtain these documents and to prove they were authentic, as Markson had had an expert do? And had they actually been leaked, as news.com.au suggested? A host of China experts suggested it wasn't hard at all, with Professor Cheng-Shin Pan from Deakin University telling his Twitter followers,
you don't have to be someone from the US State Department to get hold of this prized document, nor do you have to be a cyber expert to verify the authenticity of the paper. Anyone can locate its genesis on the Chinese internet. If you want a hard copy, it's still available from the Chinese online bookstore Dung Dung.
Yes, the bombshell document is a 2015 book, The Unnatural Origin of SARS, available here from an online Chinese book site. Perhaps the US State Department bought it there, or they could easily have found its full text on the internet. But if Markson exaggerated the restricted nature of the document, how accurately did she report its contents?
In this document, unbelievably, there's a whole section on the best conditions under which to release a biological attack. Here's more from it. Large-scale biological weapon attacks can cause many indirect consequences in addition to human casualties. Major impacts include enormous burden on healthcare system. Well, we've seen that.
But a host of China experts say the book is not outlining China's plans for biowarfare. It's looking at defence against Western attacks, which it claims have already started. As award-winning Chinese journalist and famous political blogger Michael Anti told his 260,000 Twitter followers,
military doctor Xu Dezhong in 2015 published The Unnatural Origin of SARS and New Species of Man-Made Viruses as Genetic Bioweapons, which said the SARS virus was made by the US military. This, of course, is ridiculous.
And recent ANU fellow Dominic Ma, who's an expert on China and coronaviruses, was even more scathing.
I've spent most of the weekend reading bits of this publicly available book. It's pretty clearly an idiotic conspiracy theory about how the US and Japan introduced SARS to China.
And in a subsequent thread looking at how the book was written and reviewed in China, Ma says of its lead author, Xu Dezhong,
nothing in the book indicates he's planning a bioweapons program or planning to develop SARS into a subsequent bioweapon. He complains in the book that his ideas are dismissed by Chinese media.
And it's worth noting that Xu is not a bioweapons scientist. He's an epidemiologist. But Ma, Pan and Anti are not the only ones to damn Markson's exclusive. This Sydney Morning Herald analysis on Thursday had several other China experts voicing their doubts, including the Lowy Institute's Richard McGregor, who pointed out,
"It is not secret and has been up on the internet for at least 5 years, which tells you immediately that it doesn't contain hypersensitive information as far as Beijing is concerned."
And yet more China experts took aim at Markson's scoop in another takedown by The Guardian, headlined,
News Corp exclusive on Chinese bioweapons based on discredited 2015 book of conspiracy theories, criticised as misleading and alarmist by China analysts.
And still more lined up to snipe on Twitter, with some linking the bioweapons claim to a right-wing American website G News, which is a partnership between anti-communist billionaire Guo Wenwei and former President Trump advisor Steve Bannon. Back in March, G News described the Bombshell book as a People's Liberation Army military textbook and claimed that on page 151 it
suggested that the Chinese People's Liberation Army, PLA, had developed a new method to produce an infectious disease of SARS-CoV-2 with gain of function as genetically modified weapon for the Chinese regime to launch an unrestricted warfare to the whole world.
And does page 151 really say that? According to the ANU's Dominic Ma and Deakin's Shengxin Pan, it does not. With Pan telling MediaWatch,
I have had a look at the relevant page and also skimmed through the book and cannot find any evidence to support those claims.
It's not clear how much Sharry Markson's latest work owes to G News or Steve Bannon, but they are clearly of like mind. And last week, Steve invited Sharry onto his podcast to tell her what great work she was doing.
Look, you're a professional journalist with some of the most revered institutions in global journalism. Obviously, people, revere you as an investigative reporter and your research.
We doubt the China experts we spoke to, or those quoted by The Guardian and Sydney Morning Herald, would agree with Bannon's assessment. Indeed, Vicky Zhu, the well-known pro-Uyghur activist who is absolutely no friend of China, summed up her view of Markson's article like this.
Embellishment, exaggeration, drawing conclusions from thin evidence on a matter of life and death of so many will have long-lasting negative impacts and undermine genuine, rigorous investigations by others to come. It's harmful. Please stop.
While former Foreign Minister Bob Carr, who is a friend of China, was just as damning, telling The Guardian,
This is a case study in a species of journalism we can baptise as China panic. It's fed a view that Australia is threatened and war is imminent.
Markson, meanwhile, is unrepentant and defiant, saying she won't lose a moment's sleep over what Bob Carr thinks, and telling MediaWatch,
I have interviewed multiple high-level specialists whose actual job is biological weapons compliance, and they say this document by 18 military scientists is highly significant, with its instructions on how to unleash a bioweapon attack. There are no factual errors in my story. MediaWatch is 100% wrong on this, just like you were a year ago when you falsely reported that COVID-19 could not have a laboratory origin. Will you apologise and publish a correction?
And you can read her full reply on our website.